All right, so today we're diving into a really unique spiritual text called Walking Out of the Soul's Egypt. It lays out a pretty wild prophecy and, well, a proposed path forward for all of humanity. To really get a handle on what this text is all about, we're going to break it down into 5 main parts. First, we'll talk about the core idea, the soul's Egypt. Then we'll look at the messenger who's supposed to be our guide. After that, we'll cover a big cosmic warning, the specific steps to freedom, and finally, a command that you can't ignore. Okay, first up, to get what this whole thing is about, you have to understand this one central idea, this metaphor the author calls the soul's Egypt. So right off the bat, the text flips the whole biblical story of Exodus on its head. It says the real struggle isn't about escaping physical slavery in some foreign land. Nope. The real prison is mental, it's spiritual, and it's something we carry around inside us every day. So what is this Egypt of the soul? Well, the author defines it as this state of being, totally enslaved by our own minds. It's a prison built out of our loyalties, our attachments, and all the worldly ideas we cling to. And this is where it gets really specific and, honestly, pretty challenging. It's not just talking about abstract ideas, it's pointing fingers at things like your family, your country, your political party, even organized religion. It labels all of these as the very bars of the spiritual prison we have to escape. Okay, so the text doesn't just lay out this big problem and leave you hanging. That brings us to part 2, a new messenger. This is the person who is supposedly here to guide humanity into a whole new age. And then this figure steps forward, introducing himself as Hundun Yuanshu. And he's not just some philosopher with a new idea. No, he says he's on a divine mission, here to lead people out of this Egypt of the soul and into a totally new way of being. And get this is where his claim gets really unique. He says he's not just one thing, he's the embodiment of the best parts of 5 huge historical figures. We're talking the love of Jesus, the wisdom of Buddha, the ideal of Muhammad, the morality of Lao Tzu, and even the desire of Mao Zedong to liberate the oppressed. He claims this combination creates a mysterious power. And a really crucial point here is that this message, it's for everyone. It doesn't matter who you are, what you've done, or where you're from. The text makes it clear that kings and prisoners, saints and sinners, everybody gets an equal shot to hear this and walk out of Egypt. Okay, so that leads us to section 3. And this guidance, it's not just some gentle advice. It comes with a ticking clock, a pretty serious cosmic warning about a massive change that's about to hit. The text talks about this cosmic wave that's heading right for Earth. And when it hits, it's supposed to act as a massive filter for all of humanity. But here's the twist. It's not about being good or bad. It's all about your vibrational resonance. And this slide really lays out the stakes. It's pretty black and white. You've got 2 possible fates. If you're still stuck in that spiritual Egypt, you won't be able to resonate with the wave's frequency and, well, the text says you'll disappear. But if you've left Egypt, you'll resonate, you'll survive, and you'll get to enter this brand new era. So if that's the warning, what's the escape plan? Well, that brings us to section 4, the path to freedom. The text actually gives a very clear step-by-step set of instructions on how to survive. So how do you leave this soul's Egypt? It's basically a 4-step process. The first 2 steps are all internal work. You have to let go of all your attachments and forgive absolutely everyone for everything. Then it's about external action. You have to study the great classics. And finally, you have to get something called a life visa directly from the messenger. Now, this life visa thing, this is probably one of the most unique concepts in the whole text. We're not talking about a piece of paper. It's described as this antimatter structure that the messenger can literally embed in your soul. The idea is that it perfects your soul and acts like a shield during this whole cosmic shift. All right, and that leads us to the very last section. The text doesn't just wrap up with some nice advice. It ends with a command, a non-negotiable directive for anyone who reads it. And this is where it gets really intense. According to the author, just by reading this, you've been given a job. You have to pass it on. You are now part of a lifeline for other people. And if you don't, if you break that chain, well, the text says you'll pay a high price, and it straight up calls it a curse. But here's a really interesting twist. Even though this messenger, Hundun Yuanshu, is the key to getting this life visa, the text is super clear. You are not supposed to glorify him at all. All the credit, all the glory has to go to God. Praising the messenger himself is forbidden. And that's what I want to leave you with. It's a fascinating paradox, isn't it? A message that's all about achieving total freedom from every system, every attachment, and every loyalty. But it ends with its own absolute, inescapable command. It really makes you wonder, what kind of freedom is actually on the table here?